Nothing has sparked more discussion during the Diablo 4 beta as the question, is Diablo 4 an MMO? Let me share you the first gameplay impressions, if the game can live up to the hype, the good, the bad, the ugly, and also what makes Diablo 4 an MMO, and is that to the better or did that make the game worse? First, the actual big problem about Diablo being an MMO is that it's live. You have to be online to play. There's zero way to actually play the game offline, which is going to be terrible for release because you're going to be taking day off work. You're going to be taking day off school, just not go, university, whatsoever. You're going to tell your partner you're going to play a few hours, but you'll sit in a login queue. Yeah. It's the reality of things in the first months of Diablo 4 release. Probably at prime times, you're always going to sit in a login queue. You have zero chance to play offline, and that will be frustrating as hell. Remember the New World release? That's what I'm expecting to happen, and that's going to be quite painful. Now, in terms of the actual MMO feel, yes, I've seen every now and then a player run around, and it was cool if you're in a town to actually have someone there. But if I was running past someone in the open world, it was always quite weird. I mean, I was happy doing an open world quest, and I was struggling, okay? I'm going to be honest. It wasn't the best. And suddenly someone just came along and started blasting the mobs too. It was like, cool, I'll get my loot easier and faster. And the world bosses are quite fun as well with all the other players. But there comes already the problem a little bit. The more players are there for a world boss, the different it scales. Now let's say you have 20 level 25 or 20 level 100s there. Fantastic, easy pickings. But if you suddenly have 10 level 10s and 5 level 25s and the world boss comes up, yeah, the level 10s are going to make it exceedingly more difficult and impossible for the higher level ones. The same kind of goes for Strongholds. So it's not always better to actually have other people there, especially if the other people stink. A stronghold is difficult. A stronghold is a timed event and it's really fun to do, don't get me wrong. But if people are not pulling their weight, then you might just fail the stronghold simply because others are actually holding you back despite you doing your S tier game. Now we could break down the definition of MMO and what it actually means, but realistically, massive multiplayer online game. That's what Diablo is trying to be. It's trying to create a feel of actually being online, being in this populated world of Diablo where everyone is kind of like running around and doing things. But it's giving me a wee bit of Lost Ark vibes, if I'm going to be real. There are other players in the world, but I kind of have zero interest in interacting with them. And it doesn't matter to me if they are there or if they are not there. And the only way how you interact with them is probably going to be in hub towns with some trading, or if there's a way to queue up for dungeons or in-game content, kind of like that. But I'm not running around in the open world and I'm like, hoo-ha, nice to meet you and whatsoever. Remember when World of Warcraft came out and you actually stumbled around people in the wild and you were just like, whoa, this is crazy. There's someone in the wild. Let's talk to them. Yeah, not happening. I'd rather see the voice chat being used to randomly yell at people and profanities and whatsoever. Now, that being said, you can definitely make new friends, and it's quite fun that Diablo is finally online. I think it's a step in the right direction. You'll just have to see how you can mold it in the pattern of the game. How can you make Diablo 4 as an MMO work? What are the elements that it kind of contributes from and doesn't just add negatives to it? Obviously, in the beta, it's kind of like with level 25 limit, you're only experiencing the bare surface level. But I have to say that bare surface level has been great fun. I don't know if you remember the art style, for example, of Diablo 3. But the game, for me, always looked like having a slight Disney touch. Yeah, I know blood and gore. But the comic, World of Warcraft, Heroes of the Storm, comic-y vibe that all Blizzard games kind of have. Diablo 4, for me, is more like Paths of Exile, or just generally more grim, dark. Back to the roots, Diablo 2. Remember, you went into the monastery when Dariel is down and you see all these decapitated monks and lying around, and yeah, it's kind of weird to say that, but the vibe of the monastery being desecrated and everything, fantastic. And that all is kind of coming back with Diablo 4, and I'm really loving the setting and the immersion the game is actually giving me, especially with the dungeons and the strongholds. First dungeons, I was really annoyed by going into them and just having to run into every single corner in Diablo 3 and 2. Kind of find like 1 or 2, 3 elites, boss mobs, whatsoever, that one chest, get out. And until then, you're just happy if you find the right track. Here in Diablo 4, joining a dungeon, and yes, it might get repetitive at some point, but every dungeon having a certain mechanic, get the books, get the orb, kill the 4 constructs, all these kind of mechanics to then find like the end boss of the dungeon, and always have an end boss and a variety of end bosses. I was really surprised at how many we had. And even if they are repetitive, there are certain patterns you really love. For example, the Blood Bishop. Whenever I meet that guy, I'm just like, oh yeah, I love that boss design. He just looks so good. Like 4th Blood Bishop today, no matter. I like that guy. He's gonna die. That makes me actually really enjoy playing through dungeon, and a lot of side quests did actually put you into dungeons as well. So just mindlessly going through dungeon, yes, you can. But if you do all the side quests, you're kind of having like story reasons to go into dungeons because there's a friend lost in there, where the monster has done this and this. You get to be saving the tribe because they're corrupted by an age-old shaman. And all that kind of stuff makes you actually want to side quest and discover the world and even 100% areas, which I personally hate. I'm not a 100%er, but I actually went through 100% of every single dungeon in the beta. Now coming to Strongholds, they have probably been my favorite part of the whole beta. And I'm sad that I could only do them once and not multiple times over again. A part of the one with the Vampire Lord, because I failed that twice alone, had to redo my build, and then I could finally do it, was quite a challenge, especially I was doing them completely alone. I didn't have anyone, and that was way more fun, because they were really this nitty and gritty hardcore challenge to really be able to clear all the mobs alone, the masses of enemies, and then fight the boss in the end. And that Vampire Lord summoning like his 3 cronies, I loved that fight. Probably my favorite highlight of the whole goddamn beta. Now, I know that assets are being created for dungeons and what's so on automatically, and they probably have their tiles where they put maps together. But I have to say, it's getting really fast repetitive. I was doing a quest down in the ancient city, and while you were going through the mines, I was 4 times going through the same exact map. Not like similar, maybe that bridge I've seen before. No, exact, go down there, double left and right, 2 bridges in the middle, go down there, left, you know? I get that they're being randomly created and there's some kind of patterns and what's so not, but we're talking about Diablo 4 here and Blizzard. And yes, sure, if I go into 2 different dungeons and both are similar, that's completely fine to me. But if I go to 3 different levels in a dungeon and every single level has the same design, maybe I just hit an unlucky seed, I don't know. But it kind of feels a wee bit cheap. I mean, I expect that from a small indie company that has limited assets. But if I'm playing Diablo 4 and this is going to be the next big thing, I don't want to have like the same, exactly the same layout in the same dungeon 4 times in a row. The talent system so far, we only have 25 levels, still has felt very interesting. I've been playing with 2 friends that have been playing Mage, and we all 3 had different Mage builds. I myself came up with 3 to 4 different builds that I've been enjoying, from Lightning, Fire Hybrid, with some Frost, with full Fire, full Frost, full Lightning, full Arcana. Everything has been possible, and we didn't even tap into every single level so far. Yes, it is a bit simplistic because you don't have strength, intelligence, and all these kind of stats to do. And that is definitely to make the game more casual friendly. But I do believe that with the min-maxing available and also still finding the perfect items, then enchanting the perfect items, taking your perks, disenchanting them from your legendaries to put them on yellow items, to find the perfect yellow items, that still requires a level of understanding and skill that is then going down to the nitty and gritty try-hard grinding. Diablo 4, yes, casualized, but still try hard enough for the people that want to sink their teeth and their time into the game. And the best part is, refunding is not expensive, and you can just right-click the path back, worst case scenario, to get every single point back. I mean, I went up to like 3,000 gold for refunding my points, and I have now 200,000 gold or so. Yeah, I don't think there's ever going to be a problem to actually reskill your class whenever you feel like just playing something different. I've seen a lot of concerns about too many legendaries dropping, but I gotta tell you, I enjoyed that tremendously. If I play an hour and there's 10 legendaries dropping, and I still only need a single one of them, I cherish and value that a lot. But if I'm playing for an hour and there's 2 legendaries dropping and both are shit, you're kind of like, that's annoying. So I wouldn't treat legendaries as legendaries. I mean, they could probably bump the quality of legendaries down to yellow, and the yellow items are going to be purple items, and then we still have blue. But realistically, you're going to be looking for the unique green items anyways, and the legendaries are just there to allow you to do all these kind of different builds, because that's the thing. I got the double Frost Nova, I got the do 63% more damage with the mana being up for an insane Frostbolt, Firebolt crit plays. There was a double Chain Lightning bounces gives you more mana, whatsoever, all these kind of things, and especially with the enchantments that you have been getting for the codex from the dungeons. I could always make myself the coolest items I need for the build I'm going for, but I could also make all the different builds. So I have the complete Frost Mage set already, I have the complete Fire Mage set, I have a Lightning Mage set, I have a Hybrid set, and that alone on level 25 already, just allowing me the variety of builds. Now you could be annoyed by there's too many legendaries, but it allows you to just play more. It gives you more fun. No one gets hurt kind of by that. Maybe, okay, your try-hard grinding feeling gets hurt, but for the fun and enjoyment of the game, you don't get hurt. Wrapping it up together, yes, Diablo 4 has become more casual. It is online now, and it will frustrate a lot of people due to sitting in online queues. I do believe in the long run, it could be good for the game to create a kind of more community, more society feeling, especially if we have big city hubs where you log in and actually see other players running around and you feel a wee bit socialized. For the hardcore gamers that love Diablo 3, Diablo 2, we haven't seen the end game yet, but the game is definitely more casual than before, so it might be getting a wee bit less enticing to play over time. Again, we do have the hardcore mode, as we've always had the hardcore mode, and that will always be brutal. So if you're really looking for that challenge, play hardcore, but you kind of have to play hardcore online and you can't play it offline. So for a lot of people, that's going to be like, what if my internet is shaky? It always disconnects at some point. I get like a disconnect I'm not responsible for, and I'm losing my character like that. I'll definitely start a hardcore journey as well, but not in the first 2 or even 3-4 weeks of the Diablo release, because servers are going to be wobbly maybe, and you don't really want to risk losing your character like that, right? I'm definitely excited for the open beta. I'm looking forward to play all the different classes, and I will definitely play this on release and drop a lot of content on the platform here, plus obviously a hardcore journey. If you want to see my Sork build, that's here, and if you want to see me actually play the game, there's also a live stream. Check out both. Their quality content.